It was now fall, and I had no idea what this season even looked like, but I also didn't want to tell my friend that because I'm the friend that's supposed to be plugged in, so I made it my mission to give him a good sense of what to look out for this season. After watching trailers, reading descriptions, I noticed one little problem. There are a lot of sequels this season, more than 15. And I don't know shit about them. Also, with sequels, you kind of already know what you signed up for, so there's really not much to say. So I decided to skip those and focus on narrowing down new anime that I think have the most potential this season. So I picked this one because the premise for it caught my eye, because it starts off with the main character who's a princess getting executed, and the anime is pretty much about giving them a chance at a do-over by resetting them all the way back to age 12, which forces them to live with the constant fear of needing to become a better person unless they want it to happen again. I think that could be really funny, and the character designs do look appealing, so right now it's a bit of a toss-up, but I'd say it's worth checking out, at least one episode. Yeah, I know, another MMO anime, but this time with the new Gimmick. Normally I'd scroll past shows like this one because they usually come off like a mishmash of things that I wouldn't be able to take seriously, but I gave the trailer a shot, and the production on this actually looks a lot better than I thought. It also seems to be approaching the game exploration aspect in a really grounded way, which I usually find very appealing. The characters themselves seem to be pretty quirky, so while I'm not sure how much of a story it has going for it, I definitely think this is at least worth checking out just for fun world exploration and adventure vibes. You thought harems were a dying breed. You thought they were going away. You thought it can't get any more ridiculous. But now we've reached the next evolution of harems.
100 love interests!
Honestly, I don't really watch harems anymore, but when I saw this looks so batshit insane as a concept that it was too good to pass up. Because the concept itself is about this guy having to romance 100 girlfriends without being able to turn any of them down unless he wants them to die in horrible ways. This gives it so much mileage for comedy, but I'd also be lying if I said I wasn't just genuinely curious to see how they're gonna commit to pulling off 100 girlfriends that play into a different individual trope and that we're gonna get introduced to one by one, all for this one dude. It's taking the piss out of the entire genre in the most ridiculous ways, so I think that's enough to make it worth checking out. Pluto is basically what you get when you take the anime classic Astro Boy and put it in the hands of the guy who created the carefully crafted psychological thriller known as Monster. Because that's literally what this is, and I'm very excited for it because it's going to be a full adaptation. 8 one-hour episodes of Naoki Urasawa's manga that builds a serious mystery around the violent death of a robot and the philosophical questions that come about from trying to solve it. Now, the only concerning part is some CGI that I saw being used in it that looked a little strange in some parts, but as long as it still manages to capture the right atmosphere for the story like with Monster, that's all that really matters, so I still have faith. This one looks interesting because it's like a character drama series that also doubles up as a medical drama with the main character having to solve medical mysteries of the time. But what I find most interesting is that it's set in an imperial court in ancient China, which has the same setting as Raven of the Inner Palace from last fall. And the part I liked most about that show was seeing the political intrigue caused by the different factions of the court. So if it's anything like that, this is definitely bound to be really, really interesting. And the production, the art style looks really great. So I have high hopes for this one. I think it's a top pick for the season as well. Frieren Beyond Journey's End. This actually looks really promising because we don't get many shows set in a fantasy world outside of isekai anymore. This one in particular, though, looks like it's going to be like a meditative, melancholic type of show that's kind of slower paced, but really lets you take in the world and the characters' thoughts and feelings through this really interesting premise that explores life for the heroes after the world has been saved, but specifically through the lens of the elf in the party who has a much longer lifespan. The Japanese title actually translates to Frieren at the Funeral, so that kind of tells me a lot about the tone of the show and what it's going to be prioritizing throughout. The production also just looks phenomenal. I can definitely see this being a top contender for the season through what might be a character-driven story that'll allow for many emotionally resonant and hard-hitting moments. Okay, if you got this far into the video, it's time that I let you know that I kind of lied about the sequels thing. I do have a bit to say. Let's run through them real quick. Spy Family isn't really too hype, it's more of like that warm, solid comfort food that you've just come to expect every week, and it just warms your heart, and for that, I'm glad it's back. Okay, I'm now convinced that they had to have made some sort of bet where they were just like, how many FLCLs can we make before someone tells us to stop? And the problem is, no one has. Someone needs to tell them. Controversy. Attack on Titan final season Part 3, Part 2. I know it's become a joke at this point, but the fact that this is finally ending, like finally this time, is monumental. It's been milked to hell, but I still think it's going to be talked about. This is like a canon event in anime history. I think this is one of the sequels that's worth catching up on. You've got like a month just to see where you'll land with the ending, which is definitely going to spur a lot of conversation and probably a ton of spoilers, not gonna lie, because its ending will probably be debated for years to come. You're not gonna hear the end of it. And bonus, if none of these are doing it for you and you want something a little more spicy that'll make you lose your faith in the medium, check out the Pig Isekai. Now there's an isekai about becoming a pig in another world. Yeah.